At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES.
Only on Super NES.
You're listening to the SNES broadcast with your host, Soul Blazer.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Super NES podcast. This is Greg, here to cover episode 174 with you guys. Joined by always by my faithful co-host, Joe.
Hello.
And we're very honored to have a special guest host with us this time. Delayed from the original planning date due to technical issues. But this time, we're very pleased to have Tim on the podcast with us again. So how you doing today, Tim?
I'm doing all right. How are you? It's great to be here.
Doing all right? Yes, definitely.
Great to have you.
Tim joined us way back when for the draft episode, the episode 100, which was like, oh god, about a couple years now at this point, I think, probably.
At least.
Yeah. So, but Tim has not actually been on the podcast to talk about a dedicated game per se. So, Tim, why don't you just talk about yourself for a couple minutes? Maybe just talk about some of your who you are as a person, background gaming history, and your experience with Super NES.
Well, I was born in 1982, and it was a Tuesday. 4/11. I'm just kidding. I have been a gamer since I was about 5, and once I discovered role-playing games, that was just kind of my whole life. And the Super Nintendo, still my favorite console to this day. I think that it and especially as a role-playing gamer, it's just the best. That some of the most important RPGs of all time came out in the SNES. So, and I guess I used to do a podcast called Super Podcast Bros.
Yep, that's how I first found you. That was a great podcast.
Yeah, we still can't figure out how to get back together to record because the main host, Andy, is a father now, and he doesn't have any time at all. And the other two hosts live in the UK, which makes scheduling a nightmare. But anyway, I did that show for about, the last one was over a year ago, so that would have been like 6 years. Yeah, we started in 2014, so other than that, I just do a lot of gaming, and I don't do any streaming or anything like that. I mostly play retro games, and I mostly do nothing but play retro games in my free time.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you're right about Joe's age, I think. I don't remember exactly how old that Joe is, but I think you two are. I think you're right about the same age.
I'm a year older.
A year older? Okay, all right, yeah.
I'm 39.
Greg still has both of us beat, so it's okay.
Yes, yes, I do.
Well, how old are you guys?
Well, I'm 40.
Well, yeah. Yep, and I'm 45.
Oh, okay, so I'm the youngin'.
Yes.
That's pretty rare. I'm not usually the youngest person in anything.
So, I know the bar, as you just mentioned before in Super NES for RPG games, is very, very high. But if you had to pick one game that would, be like your absolute favorite in the system, like what would you say?
Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger? Yeah, awesome game. We just covered that game a short time ago.
Yep.
But
it was a good episode.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, did very well. Like in the ratings feedback, Joe was great to talk to. Like with the game.
Yeah.
So, And it was also Joe's first time playing the game, so we got to hear.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
Yeah.
I play through that game at least once a year since it came out.
Wow.
At least once a year.
Yeah, that's what I do with Lunar every year. Though this year, because it's almost that time of year in which I sit down and play through Lunar. I'm actually thinking about going through Lunar 2 this year.
Which version?
Yeah.
Kind of switching it up. It's always the PlayStation version.
Yeah.
Have you
I
played?
didn't mind the quality of life changes that they made for the PSP version, but I tried playing the Sega CD version once, and yeah, it just, I don't know. Because my introduction to it was the PlayStation version.
Yeah,
sure.
I can't go back. Unfortunately,
I can't play the Sega CD version either, but I did really like the PSP version.
Yeah, the PSP version is fantastic, and
the only
listening, that is the definitive version to play. In all
the only thing that I didn't really care for was the super abilities that you get. Every character has. I thought that was a bit little.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it.
I actually think Lunar 2 is the better game. Like, even though I love Lunar 1, I think Lunar 2 like plays better. So
I agree. I think that Lunar 2 is the better game. I just I have more nostalgia for Lunar 1 though.
Of course, yeah. But anyway, you might think, given all that talk, that Tim wanted us to cover like an RPG for this episode. Not really.
No.
He picked a very different game instead. So, what game did you want us to cover, Tim? And how did you hear about this in the first place? Because this is a Japanese only game.
The game in question is Wonder Project J, and I first heard about it because there was a project to translate it at the time.
Yes.
And it wasn't finished yet, but it looked. The reason what drew me to it originally was that it looked like a Miyazaki cartoon. And I've always been a huge Miyazaki fan, so I was like, "Ooh, this looks pretty." And then as I looked into it more, I was like, "Wow, this is really unique."
Yeah, definitely. So, you're the one who has the most experience with the game. Of course, Jordan and I played it, but so we're gonna defer to you a lot for maybe the gameplay mechanics and maybe some small stuff that we might have missed in our own playthroughs or whatnot. But anyway, let's go into some technical details about the game. Let's talk about the game to start off with to set to set the stage. Wonder Project J came out in Japan only, as we already mentioned, in December of 1994. So kind of like a mid-tier, kind of almost late Super NES game. It was developed by a company called Almanac, which is mostly Japanese only company. They went on to, they were founded in 1989. Went on to want to change their name to Jibo Corporation after a while, and finally became defunct in 1998. Enix published many of their games. Most of their games were Japan only, but the company, but you might know, but probably the best known of their games, the Almanac games in the States, would be another very obscure and also very kind of cult favorite Super NES game called EVO Search for Eden, which I really like. We're going to have to cover that game in the podcast.
I love that game too. It's
very quirky. It's very difficult to play in the areas, but it's a very fun, unique game.
And it's very it's again very unique game.
Yes.
I'm surprised that with the political climate of the U.S. that they were able to release that.
I guess because they kind of presented it kind of like a cartoonish way. Maybe
that, or maybe it's just because the higher ups didn't hear about it. Probably that.
Possibly, yeah. But and as I already mentioned, Enix was the publisher of this game, so we've already covered Enix in past podcasts. But Wonder Project J is technically defined as being a life simulation video game, which may be what does that mean? Well, in life simulation games, you don't control the main character directly. You instead do things on the side to kind of secondarily control him, if that makes sense. You're doing things kind of you're doing things to help him, to suggest things, to kind of open up pathways for him to go through that kind of stuff. You don't actually have direct control of the character itself. So, another example of a life simulation game that maybe American gamers are familiar with would be Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But because you're not actually, I was reminded of that game. I was reminded of that game a lot playing this game actually, because it's because both games you're not directly controlling the main character. You're just helping him out. helping him to do things and that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, So yeah, Wonder Project J, like I mentioned before, is a very unique game. Tim, do you want to take a stab at trying to maybe explain what the game actually is for those people out there who haven't heard about it?
Well, effectively, it's a Pinocchio story, and right down to the fact that the main character's name is Pino, and he's created by Dr. Geppetto. I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than that. But you are supposed to help this boy become more realistic and to learn how to control himself, and you're basically like slowly teaching an AI by scolding him or praising him, and then helping him overcome obstacles as you go through the game, and that's pretty much it. But nothing like that was done on the SNES besides this.
Yeah, very true. I mean, there's several things that strike the player immediately like when playing the game, and one of them is it's very, very unique because, like I said before, with the exception of Pac-Man 2, which also got a Super NES release, I can't really think of another game like this because because you're not playing the main character directly, it does take some patience. You definitely need some trial and error to get the hang of things.
Oh yeah, definitely trial and error. You're going to spend most of the time just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work.
So the game does kind of play like an adventure game in parts because you do kind of have because the interface of the game is very like adventure game-ish.
Definitely.
Because you have at the bottom of the screen, you have things like how much money you have because you need money to buy items in the game. Of course, like any good adventure game, what actor in, a series of commands, that kind of stuff. And then the top of the screen also has things like your health, your energy, which also have very important things to keep up. Like a whatnot. So so it's a very adventure game-ish interface, and you use the controller to move things around. The buttons can do certain things, that kind of stuff. So the game actually has a very detailed plot. Like most of it, like the beginning of the game has a couple minutes of plot dump, and then you're also like told things as you go through the game. Basically, Pino's creator has been arrested, and you're playing as Tim mentioned, you're playing as Pino's fairy companion Tinker to both like try to help him become more human and also find out what happened to his father and to get him out of jail if possible. So. And the story develops. Story develops also as you go through the game. I was surprised to see actually like how detailed the story of this game actually is. Like for this, like this being like a very Super NES like life simulator game. Life simulation game, and the family translation also did a great job. I mean, I didn't see any spelling errors or anything like that as far as the actual translation of the game itself goes.
No, it was translated pretty well. I was actually feeling the opposite, that there wasn't enough story, but then again, it's an adventure game, life simulation. Usually they don't have any story at all.
True.
But it is, so I suppose it is kind of impressive that it has a little bit of a story, but it's not super duper developed. It is mostly just go from point A to point B to point C to point D, and then at each point you have to solve some sort of objective in the area.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys had the same experience, but the main frustration I had with the game. So I got used to the controls easily enough after like a half an hour or so. The main frustration I had though, and playing this game, and this never went away, was like I often knew what I wanted Pino to do. I couldn't figure out how to get him to do it.
Yes, that is the frustration.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So this was our first time playing this game. So I've already given some initial impressions myself. Joe, what struck you about this game, like playing it?
My automatic dislike for it. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
You should have known this was coming. So
it's not for everyone. It's polarizing.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I like the idea that you're basically Pinocchio, you're an android, and like you have to learn these things. And you're right, the frustration is getting him to do the things that you want, and to do those things, there is a lot of repetition, and the repetition of him picking up different items, and then you either praising him or scolding him based on his actions, to the point where he will do what you want him to do. And that, unfortunately, is one of the hindrances of this game. The other, for me, is there's one genre of game that I absolutely despise, or part of a game that I absolutely despise, and it is escort missions. And this is like a giant escort mission.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Look, one of my favorite games in the 90s is Earthworm Jim. I still haven't beaten that game because there's an escort mission where you have to, basically escort this dog to the end without him basically wiling out and killing you. And because of that particular level, even when I bought the remake or the remaster that they released for the PS3, it's the same thing. I played up to that level and then I just quit. I'm done. I cannot do escort missions. So, unfortunately, So
you didn't do well with Resident Evil 4 then?
You know what's funny is that for some reason in Resident Evil 4, I didn't even mind it that much.
Really?
Yeah, I think at that point, when I played that game, I was just like, because of Resident Evil 1 through 3, I was so invested that it was just one of those like, okay, yeah, she's gonna die a lot, and I'm just gonna push through it so I can finish the story. I think that's really what it was there. And I was younger and had a bit more patience. Not so much now.
I had a little bit of a similar experience because I was just so happy that there was decent controls in that game.
Right.
I was like, oh my god, I can control this character like normal, and it's not a tank. Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna just play all of this. And also, with escorting Ashley, you can tell her to just stand over there and get out of my face for a minute.
Right.
So it does help quite a bit. But yeah, so this whole game is an escort mission, and it's an escort mission with a person who won't listen to you.
Right.
Which makes it even harder. But I think for a certain type of player, this is really good because you're effectively raising this robot boy, Pino, and you're raising him in such a way where it's like, hey, go do this, or if he does something and you either smack him on the head, or what does Tinker do? That Tinker is your cursor, basically, a little fairy character that I believe this game can control with the SNES mouse.
Yes.
She can either praise him or scold him, and then after doing that a lot, he'll finally learn that, like, oh, I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah. Just like a real child.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's just as irritating as raising a little child.
I mean, I don't know. I touched the top of the oven when I was younger, and I never did it after the first time. So I mean.
Yeah, but you don't have robot hands.
Right. If I had robot hands, I definitely would have kept doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, eventually, Greg and I will end up speaking of Earthworm Jim and Earthworm Jim 2. But in short, I really wanted to like this game because I really enjoyed the music.
Earthworm Jim 2 is the better game. I'm just gonna say it.
I'm gonna hold my opinion.
Okay.
The music I thought was fantastic in this game. The graphics, like you said, are gorgeous. I absolutely there's so much in this game that I wanted to love. It's just like I said, the whole escort mission thing really kind of kills it, and then Pino, almost said pedo. Sorry, Pino, not listen. Basically not listening to you. And
this isn't Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 4.
Right. So I don't know. I thank you for bringing this to our attention and us being able to cover it on the podcast. But also, I hate you. So there's that.
Because I made you play a game that it's just totally at odds with you.
Yeah.
Well, I've done that to him too. So like, but so I'm kind of in the fence. I'm kind of like in both camps. You know, I don't hate the game as much as I hate the game as much as like Joe does. I don't love it as much as Tim does. I think it's a very ambitious, unique game, and I totally agree that this game's not for everybody. But I think for the people who have the patience for it, this can be a very rewarding experience because it's so unique. Like I said, there's I can count on one hand the number of games like this. It's a very unique gameplay experience, and it's not hard to understand why this game never got released in the States because it's there's no way in heck this game would have done over well.
Not at the time for sure.
No,
kids wouldn't have had the patience for it.
I was gonna say, look at how well Pac-Man 2 sold. I mean, you can look at that and definitely see a reason why not release it.
I think this is a better game than Pac-Man 2. Though.
No, I agree with that, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
The graphics definitely are something else is also going to notice the first time playing this game because this game is gorgeous. I mean, I go so far as to say top 10 graphical games in the system. This game belongs to that list because it's really beautiful, almost like hand-drawn anime style graphics.
I mean, also this was a late release, so I mean, it's not really fair.
Yeah, middle late release '94, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised because the developers clearly stated they took inspiration from a lot of the Toei companies' works in making this game. And Toei is the big Japanese anime powerhouse, but pretty much anything you've heard of that they've made. So, this game looks like it literally just came out like an anime. Is that like that gorgeous looking? So
yeah, well, at the time when I discovered this, I was really huge into anime. It was right in the dead center of my obsession with anime. And so I was clinging on to anything that was anime, and I couldn't believe that it could do these graphics on the SNES. It looked like the PlayStation. Like it's just so many frames of animation, so much color, so much detail, and the characters are very charming looking. The faces look really cool.
Oh yeah,
very
sprites
unique.
are large. Yep, good large detailed sprites. You can see what's going on in the game, which really helps because it's I think even Joe would even agree that this game would be a lot harder to play if you couldn't see what you're doing.
Yeah,
at least this game, like I said before, you know what it is. The problem is how do you actually go about interacting with it?
Yeah, so I think the weak part of this game is the gameplay. But at the same time, it's also the most unique aspect of it.
Definitely, yes. So, yep. Yeah, and like Joe said, the music in this game is also very good. It's a very it fits the game very, very well.
Very poppy,
very good.
Upbeat.
Yeah.
It fits the animation superbly.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
out of curiosity, just quickly, you two, off the top of your heads, what do you think the best looking SNES games are?
Besides this game, there's a couple other movie inspired games like Toy Story. I think that have gorgeous graphics.
Yeah.
But also was it Lion King? I think also. But
I was gonna say Aladdin.
Aladdin also looks great.
Batman and
Chrono Trigger,
Robin.
we talked. Chrono Trigger we talked about before about the Final Fantasies. They all have gorgeous graphics. Super Castlevania 4, I love the graphics in that.
Oh yeah.
So I think, there's probably a couple other games I'm forgetting about right now, but because the library is so huge, but yeah. Oh, Actraiser also.
Oh yeah. Oh god, that remake is sweet.
The remake's awesome. Yes, I played it already.
I haven't finished it yet, but it's so good.
I was
Yes.
gonna say,
Joe and I-
the annoying Baby Mario, Yoshi's Island is
Oh, yeah.
Also,
absolutely
also
gorgeous.
also great graphics, but But Joe and I will cover a few loose ends in our next episode next time, and Activizer Renaissance is one of the things. It's one of the things that we're going to talk about, because I do want to talk about that a little bit. So, but
have either of you played a Gundam Wing Endless Duel on SNES?
No, I've not.
It's a tournament style fighting game based on Gundam Wing, and I think that game looks unreal, because it's on the SNES, but it looks way too good to be on the SNES. And they brought it over here, but they changed all the graphics and called it Power Rangers the movie.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's still really pretty, but the music and the graphics on the Endless Duel, Gundam Wing Endless Duel game is just unbelievable. I mean, like, I still can't believe that they were able to crunch those graphics in there. That cartridge must be huge, as far as, like, bits.
Yes. So, but,
sorry. Tim, just curious, have you played the sequel on the N64?
No, I haven't, because I haven't been able to. I some reason couldn't get it running on emulation. Even though it's I don't think there's a fan translation. I figured that I knew enough Japanese that I could kind of finagle my way through it.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't been able to get it running.
Yeah, a little inside baseball, but like I had seen a YouTube video that actually, mentioned there was an English translation for the N64 game.
Oh,
So
there is, yeah.
I
Yeah,
was like,
I was going to say,
okay.
fan translation came out in 2007.
I was like,
so.
I'm gonna check that out, and that was actually my first introduction to the series. So that's why I was
interesting.
dreading it when this came up on the list, because I kind of already knew what I was getting myself into.
What I was getting you into.
Yeah. So it was like I played the N64 game first, which, I mean,
Is it better?
Yes and no.
Oh,
So I feel like, as far as like the power of the N64, I feel like graphically it should have looked better, but I think it was cart capacity that maybe kept it from looking as good as it could have.
Yeah.
It really just looked like the Super Nintendo game on steroids. That's the best way to put it. So,
and the gameplay, I assume, is the same.
yeah, the gameplay is exactly the same. Yep.
Yeah, I've not played the sequel, but I did watch some video on it on YouTube, and like, what Joe said, the game is very close to the original game. I think I think they did make, like the true sequel. So like the story picks up in the events like the first game. So, the sprites are a little bit larger, detailed. The interface is like a bit different. Some of the, it looks like it's a bit easier to control things in the sequel compared to the original game. So, but yeah, beyond that, more of the same. But yes, there is but yes, that game also has a fan translation out there, and so I know you have a very old computer, Tim. But if you ever get a new computer, the N64 emulator can definitely like play this game like no problem.
Yes.
So, also real quick, they were planning to make a PlayStation version of that game, but that never came out.
Huh, interesting. I just I knew of its existence. I just was never able to play it. For one reason or another. I think at the time N64 emulation wasn't all that great.
Yeah, it's very good now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know that. I know it's good because I do have a computer that can play pretty much any video game. But it's a gaming laptop that refuses to connect to the internet. So I have to move everything onto it via removable hard drives and USB flash drives, and it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that the let me check here. Different group did the translation for the sequel compared to the first game. But yes, like this game, there's a fully translated ROM out there for you.
Yeah,
So,
from what I've heard, it's pretty accurate. So.
Yeah.
I'm going to look into that because I'm interested in playing the sequel. I really like this game, so
yeah.
I think that there's not going to be any reason for me not to
Sure.
immediately look into this when we get done recording, right?
That's why I had to bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I did finish the game eventually with a lot of trial and error and save states,
you are a
save
saint.
states like and whatnot. Well, I did cheat a little bit in some areas to get me through because I'm like, okay, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. Just tell me the solution already.
Right.
But because if you have patience, trial and error. I don't know. Tim, do you remember how long it took you to play this game the first time?
Oh God, like pure gameplay or like how many days? Because
I'd probably say gameplay because I think like the average online from like C seems like about 40 hours, give or take.
well,
to go through the game.
it was
so.
way more than that for me. I'll tell you that much. I think it was probably closer to 60.
Yeah, most of it, and most of that's because, like I said before, a lot of the game is just trial and error, trying to figure out what to do, or more accurately, you know what to do, how to actually go about doing it. That's what we said. This game, like Tim said, polarizing. The best way I can describe it. You're either gonna, you're the kind of person who has the patience. Who's going to enjoy this game, or the kind of person like who's not. So, and not that there's anything wrong with the camp, but just that this is the game. This is how the game is designed, and this is how it's created. So,
Yep.
But, the best speedrun the best speedrun time of this game on YouTube is about 2 hours.
Wow, that person loves it more than me. I'll tell you that much.
But so
That's impressive.
I spent
So if you do want to watch through the game on YouTube, I recommend that. Yeah, I recommend finding that video because, like, it's a very good, concise speed run of the game. The games, you can see everything in the game. So,
Does it actually? Does it go through the story too, or do they flip through it as quick as they can?
I don't remember. Give me a second to.
Probably
give me a
skip
second to
through it as
probably
fast as they
skip through
can.
it, yeah. I mean, geez, I think it took me like 2 hours just to get Pino
Oh,
to
yes,
pick up
yeah.
the ball and actually throw
Not
it.
only did they skip through the game, they're playing the it was a Japanese marathon, so it's a Japanese version of the game.
okay.
So the video is good to watch if you just want to see the gameplay, but there's a different video online you can watch if you actually want to see the story of the game.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
But anyway, this game sold very well in Japan when it came out.
It's one of the best-selling games on the Super Famicom.
Yeah, 1.3 million copies. So, it was definitely a hit for the Japanese market.
Well, it looks incredibly anime-esque, so that
Yes. Yep, that makes sense. So, I mean, most magazines of the day gave it like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. So
it's pretty good.
Yeah. Not much coverage of the game in North America, obviously. Obviously, like the game, the game did have enough fans of the game that they translated the game, obviously. So, OneUp.com did an article several years ago, and they included this game as one of their 6 must-play Super NES import. So,
I would disagree with that.
But really,
I like the game a lot, but there's so many more games that are import only that should be on that list. But then again, I'm an RPG player, so there's a boatload. There for every one RPG we got on the SNES, they got like 15.
Right.
Yeah. Well, real quick then, I'll just go through the list real quick. They recommend Gunman's Proof.
Yes.
Treasure Hunter G.
Take it or leave it.
What else do they recommend? Hold on 1 second. Page is trying to load on me. I've heard of those games at least, so that's cool. They cheat a little bit and include the stealth view by itself, which I don't think is fair.
That's not fair.
A game called Umahari Kawazi, which I never even heard of.
Oh yeah, I have the. I think it's the newest version on PS Vita.
It's a Bionic Commando-like game.
Sort of. It's more of a puzzle platformer, but with really interesting physics.
And of course, Bahamut Lagoon, which I agree with.
I agree with that.
Game, so,
but
it's real shame. It's real shame we never got that here in the West.
Treasure of the Rudras should be on there too, or Rudra no Hiho should be on there. That's an amazing RPG where you craft your own spells using words.
Interesting.
And every word does something, and it's so cool to just like whatever weird words you want in there and see what kind of spells it makes. And then of course the story is amazing. It's just such a beautiful game, and it's ultra late. Like I think it was like 95, like late 95.
Yeah. But anyway, So like we said before, Tim, I do thank you for bringing this game to my attention because I never heard of this game. So,
You're very welcome.
And it's a very unique game. I don't regret playing it. It's a very, it's a very niche game, but it's fun to see a game like this could actually exist for a console this old. Because because of course life simulation games are very popular these days. But for a game this old to exist is pretty impressive.
Well, it was either going to be this game or Terranigma, and I figured that given who you are, that you guys either have already talked about Terranigma or you would definitely at some point talk about Terranigma. So I was like, well, what's something that no one ever talks about? Well, yeah, Wonder Project J.
Yeah, that was Terranigma was the third of the so-called Quintet trilogy, right?
Yep, it was Soul Blazer,
Illusion of Gaia,
and then Terranigma wasn't released in the US, but it was released in the UK.
Yeah, we actually have not covered that yet. So
yeah, I think it's the best out of the group, honestly. But that's my opinion.
It's been a long time since I played the game, so I'll pass judgment on that because I did play Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia back when they first came out. But Terranigma I did not play until many years later. So.
Oh, you're not British? Damn. Sorry for this curse.
Nope. That one's fine.
Oh, okay.
but anyway, so yeah. Well, maybe we'll have you back on the podcast later on then to cover that game then.
I would love to.
Okay, but anyway, so like I said before, this game I at least recommend anybody who's a fan of the system to at least look at the game to at least look at the game online to see how see the graphics of this game, because the graphics of the game really are amazing. But like we were saying, whether or not you enjoy the game or not depends upon who you are as a person, as a gamer. Because if you have the patience to sit in this game and figure out what to do, I think it's a very rewarding game experience. But if you don't, I don't blame you one bit, because like I said, this game's not for everybody. It's not for everybody at all. But
definitely not.
This is a very obscure, overlooked game. I think that probably deserves more attention than it got. Even though it is on some of these must-play lists. The fact that most people I'm sure have never heard of it. So as always, one of the best things about this podcast, like bringing to light these more obscure games. So so thank you again, Tim, for bringing the game to attention, even though Joe may not have liked it.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry that Joe didn't like it.
It's okay. It's not like I'm gonna like everything.
Well, yeah,
I think people now have come to know that, there are definitely some games that I, absolutely just cannot stand.
And then we all have games like that and genres like that,
and it keeps the podcast interesting.
Yeah,
nobody would listen if Greg and I agreed on everything.
I probably
but more often than not we do.
I probably still would listen,
but it's still two totally different point of views.
But so let me finish off a little bit of talk about life simulator games itself, because I'm kind of wondering if Joe just doesn't care for the genre period, because there's actually several life simulations, kind of like a broad swath of games that kind of games that fit into it. Most people consider games most people consider Tamagotchi to be a life simulation game. So Nintendogs is also one. I enjoyed that game a lot. Actually, I played them quite a bit, too bad when it came out. Many of the sim games are considered to be kind of following this genre. So do you enjoy any of those games, Joe?
I enjoy putting Sims into a room and then removing the doors and then placing fireworks all in the room and just setting them off.
You need like an Eli Roth version of The Sims.
Yeah,
Have you ever played Jones in the Fast Lane? That's a good life simulator game.
I was
Oh yes, it is.
I
Yep, I
was
played
waiting
that.
for you to mention a title that I may have liked, and you didn't. So I mean, it is what it is.
Sim City, Sim Life, like Sim Earth.
I was just gonna
like
say, SimCity is probably the closest you're gonna get to me enjoying a life simulator game. Outside of that, it becomes more of a what do you call it? I guess a real-time strategy. You know, Age of Empires,
yeah.
StarCraft, World of Warcraft. Well, not World
You could
Warcraft,
argue that
Warcraft.
Minecraft is a life simulator.
I hate Minecraft. Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go. So like real-time strategy, okay. Life simulator, not so much.
Real-time strategy is one of those genres that I can't stand.
Yeah.
RTS, I either love or hate depending upon the game itself, because I love the Command & Conquer games. I love the homeworld games.
Well, I
But
take that
most-
back.
But
I like Ogre Battle and Ogre Battle 64, and those are technically RTS.
true, they are. Yep.
But I usually like
Yeah.
TBS games.
But also like Tim, like real quick. Speaking of like, since you mentioned like Jones in the Fast Lane, speaking of like, speaking of like very old, like old life simulator games. Did you ever play? So have you ever played Alter Ego?
No, but I've heard of it.
Yes, good game. I check it. Very unique. I highly recommend checking it out.
I'm sure it's
So.
free at this point.
Oh yeah, 1986 Activision game.
Yeah.
Definitely so. But yeah, Alter Ego, you're actually playing yourself from like birth all the way to like death, making like choices to shape your life and affect your life and that kind of stuff as you're going through the game.
But I'm already doing that.
But yeah,
I already make those decisions every single day. No, it sounds interesting. I'll probably take a look at it.
and there are also ways to die in horrible manners in that game, which kind of surprised me the first time I played it. Just warning you. So
There are in real life too.
yeah, exactly. Which is why it's in there. So, but anyway, so wrapping this game talk up then. Anything else you want to say about the game, Tim? Like good, bad, that kind of stuff. Anything else you want to like add on to the game discussion?
I like you had said, if it doesn't sound like your cup of tea, at least go watch some footage of it on YouTube.
Definitely,
because it's amazing what they were able to do with the system in this game. It's one of those games, like I had mentioned, Gundam Wing Endless Duel. It's too good looking for the SNES, or maybe just on the cusp.
Yeah. So, but Joe, how about you? Anything else? Anything else you want to say about this game? Like in closing?
No. I mean, if this is your thing, go play it, go enjoy it, live your life.
Are you glad that it's out of the way?
I am 100% glad it's out of the way.
Let me phrase it this way then, Joe, because I'm curious. Because I know you're, if this was, like, if this game was done as an anime instead, if the actual graphics, characters, story was all was presented in anime, would you watch it?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think the story is a weakness. I like the idea of it.
No, the story's very good,
if
actually.
this had been a platformer, or like
oh lord,
or like an action RPG,
What if it was like a point-and-click adventure game?
I'd probably might have enjoyed it then as well. I think that's part of the disappointment, is that it comes off as that's the type of game it is, and then that's not the case. So,
Well, it's like point-and-click, but you don't have any hands.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Yep. And that's pretty much the crux of it. It's like if you if you enjoy, I wanted to mention some of those other life simulator games, because I'm like, if you enjoy X, you'll probably enjoy this game. But because it takes a certain kind of gamer to depending upon your tastes, whether or not you're gonna enjoy this or not. So
If you enjoy Tamagotchi and point-and-click adventure games, you might like this game. If you like Wonder Project J2,
But Tim does not like Animal Crossing, which is also like a life simulator game.
yeah,
So,
but
go figure.
But Animal Crossing, at least the thing that is different there is that you tell the game to do something, it's going to do it. The thing that
Usually.
the thing that is a real barrier with this game is, like you said, figuring out what to do is the smaller of the two hurdles, and then the larger of the two hurdles is getting Pino to do it.
Yeah.
And
Actually do it,
that's
yes.
the real thing that you're either going to like or not like. And I think the Tamagotchi crew or crowd might like that because it's the whole like teaching and praising and all that kind of stuff. But I think for a lot of players it wouldn't appeal to them.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, very unique game. Very surprised to see a game like the Super NES. Very interesting game. So, so thank you again, Tim, for bringing us to our attention, because this is it's always fun. Love it or not, I think this game's unique enough to be talked about. So,
I agree.
So, there are no cheats, codes, etc. in this game. No shock. So, pricing of this game. If you want this game on eBay, what's it going to cost you? Well, it's always difficult to do pricing for Japanese games because, the Japanese games, because there's so many formats and ways to get the game and whatnot, they're very confusing. So I'm going to try to summarize this in the clear, concise way that anybody here can understand. There are Japanese copies of the game that have already been imported. I found three copies of this game as the time doing research recently that were being sold for North America. There were 17 copies of this game being sold worldwide. So if you don't want to pay the extra shipping charges or wait for the game to come from Japan, there are already a few copies of this game imported locally for you. And a modern clone system like Redcon will play this game just fine. So without any kind of modifications or whatnot. So if you want to go that route, you can even buy the game, plug in your Redcom, and download the patch. And download translation to the game as a patch, and it's a patch. You play it that way. So
I bet that there's a way you could get a repro card of it that's already been translated.
There are repos available too, as well. That's going to get. I was going to cover that as well too. So, if you want to get the game from from Japan, the game's actually cheaper to get from Japan than North America for some reason. Probably because the game is much more common in Japan and whatnot. So,
yeah, it sounds like everyone bought one.
Yes. So, and these prices, these prices actually include shipping. They're slow shipping, but you actually, but they're actually people selling this game on eBay for Japan for as low as $8 or $9. So, ridiculously cheap price to get from Japan if you want to.
Wow.
So, if you want the game. So, and mind you, this is card only. If you want the game CIB, that's going to cost you more money. So, some of these listings are U.S., some of these listings are Japan. That running for $25 to $45. But it's still for Super NES.
It's still pretty cheap.
Bad.
It's not like It's like the polar opposite of if you wanted to get Earthbound sealed inbox North America.
Right.
Yes. Now, Tim mentioned repros. There are repros available for this game as well. Also, this is the case where someone's taken a cart, made a North American-ish style label that they stuck on it, and also just applied the translation patch to it. So you can so if you have North American Super NES, though, you can just get this cart, plug it in, and play. So. Some of the ones available come from China. Those prices range anywhere from $18, $30. You also can get a repo from the U.S. for higher price. Those average around $35. And there's also somebody from Canada making the repos available. That's $49. So depending upon how much in a rush. That will affect your shopping habits probably. So, but yeah, all in all, not a bad price for this game, all things considered.
Yeah, not at all.
So, but So anyway, I did not look up the pricing. So I did not look up the pricing of the sequels on the sequel in 64. It's probably like more expensive because as a rule, like N64 games like more expensive anyway. So
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway. So anyway, Tim, thank you very much for once again. Thank you very much for bringing us this game. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us about about the game today.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you much for having me.
Yeah. Do you have any current project websites, etc. That you're working on that you're involved in that you want to plug?
Nothing that I'm directly involved with, but my friend and co-host of Podcast Brothers, Rod, has a website called WizKids.com, and there's also WizKids on Facebook, and that's fantastic.
Okay.
They do a lot of unboxing. They do a lot of streaming. It's just pretty awesome. It's him and his kids, and they have really high production values.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, and Tim's also available on Facebook. Facebook, so if you want to talk to him like directly for some reason. Maybe love this game like how much he does. So
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are also on Facebook. We have a Facebook page on there. We can leave questions, comments, suggestions, feedback, whatever. You can also email me directly at the SNESpodcast@yahoo.com. Joe is also available on Facebook as well. Joe, how can they reach you at?
You can find me on Twitter at JOESUX30, and as Greg mentioned, I have a very public Facebook.
Awesome. Okay. Well. Next up on the podcast, we are going to do two Halloween themed games since it's that time of year. So, next up, next up in the podcast, we're covering the first of those Halloween games. We're going to be looking at the also kind of a cult favorite. I feel like a much more well-known game than this game is, obviously. Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Ooh.
So
That's a great game.
Yeah, I've not played it for a very long time. I'm curious to go back into it. I'm curious to go back into it to see how it still holds up.
The sequel, not so much.
I forgot there was a sequel. You're right.
There was a sequel, and I haven't played the first, so this is going to be a fun experience next week.
Ghoul Patrol.
Oh, that's right.
It's
yes.
nowhere near as good as the first game.
I'll have to play that too to check it out. Yeah, but yeah, I forgot about that. So, but yep. So join us again next time, like that episode. Thank you very much, everybody, for giving us a few minutes every day. We appreciate it very much. Your feedback, support of the podcast is always appreciated. And thank you again, once again, Tim. We will invite you back again later on at some point. For another game. So thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you very much, and I look forward to coming back.
Okay. Thanks again, Joe, as always, and we'll catch you again. And we'll catch everybody again next time. Stay safe, everybody, and
Bye.
Later.
See ya.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
Now you're playing with power. Super power.